Everyone, today I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and the Canadian truckers protest, what those two have between each other, and why Bitcoin can help different Canadians or different protesters of whatever type of protest to help fight against oppressive government regimes. Before we begin, I want to give a shout out to Ledn. Ledn is one of my sponsors. It's the best place to go borrow against your Bitcoin, using your Bitcoin as collateral, or lending out your Bitcoin to earn a yield on it. Check out the link below. It's in the description. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. I want to go ahead and bring you over to the Held Report. The Held Report is my newsletter I write on Thursdays. This is where I cover the topic first. If you want to hear this first instead of on Sundays, and if you want to vote on the next topic, go ahead and subscribe. Link is below in the description. And so let's go ahead and dig in. So, background for those who don't know: Canada requires all truckers crossing the U.S.-Canadian border to be fully vaccinated or quarantined for 2 weeks at home. Truckers decided that enough is enough, and they started a protest and they started to fight against the really oppressive COVID restrictions. And so police started to warn the truckers, hey, we might arrest you. And over the last month, this has grown sort of into a state of frenzy, and the Ottawa mayor declared a state of emergency. These protests were then declared illegal under the Emergencies Act by Trudeau. Trudeau is the Prime Minister of Canada. The Emergencies Act is not meant to be used for protest. It's meant to be used for extreme circumstances like war or terrorism. And so this was a really bizarre act that Trudeau pulled out to fight this, and it's very, very oppressive. I mean, on the realm of like third world countries would do this to oppress free speech. So it's pretty bizarre to see this in a country like Canada that we'd all believe is much more liberal and modern than most countries. So this was really kind of a crazy scenario. Those sympathetic with the truckers donated $10 million via GoFundMe. But what happened was the Canadian financial authorities and government decided to freeze the funds or block the funds, which is pretty nuts. I mean, this is borderline, North Korea, Russia type shit. And so this was a pretty big deal to see like financial flows cut off. There's one thing to like stop a protest or claim the protest is doing X, Y, or Z, but to cut people off from the banking services, that silences their voice very effectively because they can't access capital. And so Bitcoiners rallied to the cause, rallying to the cause of the truckers fighting the state. A Canadian Bitcoiner group known as Hong Kong HODL started a crowdfunding campaign on a platform called Tallycoin, and they raised over 5,000 people raised around $1 million. Some of those who participated were Jesse Powell, CEO of the company I work at, Kraken. He donated 1 Bitcoin himself, which is pretty awesome. Jesse's a really principled sort of guy. He believes in libertarian values. He believes in freedom of speech. And so for him, this was a big deal. His tweet said, "Fix the money, fix the world. Mandates are immoral. In the madness. Hong Kong. Freedom Convoy 2022. Before we begin, I want to give a shout out to Choice, one of my sponsors. As most of you know, when you hodl, you don't have to pay taxes. But what if I told you that you could hodl, and when you eventually sell your Bitcoin, you wouldn't have to pay any taxes then? Well, I didn't think that was possible until I found a Choice IRA. Choice is the best retirement account to set up for Bitcoiners that lets you buy and hold Bitcoin in stocks without paying a dime to the government. And how does that work? Choice is an IRA. They have IRAs and Roth IRAs, which means it's a special type of retirement account where you don't pay taxes if you hodl until a certain age, along with some other stipulations. And the best part, you can self-custody your Bitcoin with Choice, which means that you don't have to trust Choice or anyone else with your Bitcoin or your private keys. It's the perfect retirement solution for Bitcoiners. The best time to start stacking sats was 11 years ago. The second best time is today. Search StackSats in the App Store or choiceapp.io/held. Link is included in the description below. Go check it out right now. So really cool to see the Bitcoin community rally around freedom of speech and freedom to protest. And so these tally coins, in terms of how this was distributed to the truckers, they were sent to a multi-sig wallet initially controlled by members of Hong Kong HODL, which were BTC Sessions, Greg Foss, Jeff Booth, and an Ottawa resident known as Nobody Caribou on Twitter. However, now the multi-sig is more distributed. In a Bitcoin Magazine article, BTC Sessions told them that for security reasons, we found it important that the key holders are not publicly identifiable. There's a new multi-sig quorum now. Only Nobody Caribou and BJ Deecher, one of the truckers, are privy to who hold the keys. Himself, Greg, and Jeff no longer hold the keys as they were previous points of failure or political coercion. And so this was, I think, a really, really smart move. And how will those funds be distributed? I haven't like looked over the last couple, like 24 hours. I think they might have picked one of these options, but they were looking at using Open Dimes, sort of like a cash equivalent of Bitcoin, like in person, where you can actually hand them this physical USB stick, a direct Bitcoin transfer, credit card payments, bank deposits, or gift cards. So I think they're still trying to figure it out, but they believe they went with Open Dimes. Not exactly sure. So Canada not only escalated it this far to where they started to block the financial system, they evoked emergency, block transactions in their financial system, evoked the Emergency Act, but they also decided to tell all the financial firms in Canada that they needed to cease transacting with the 34 crypto wallets tied to the protests. And so the federal police agencies working with the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Center of Canada are investigating the Bitcoin donations. It's in moments like this in which Bitcoin's censorship resistant and hard to seize nature become really, really apparent as to why you need it. It's in this moment when you have a country that we thought was liberal act like a third world dictatorship. And that's why you need money to be neutral. Bitcoin allows anyone to transact. Money, like I just mentioned, should inherently be neutral. Otherwise, you could easily find yourself on the other side of censorship. My hope is that in this moment, Canadians will wake up to why Bitcoin is valuable to them and choose to store it in self-custodial methods so they can seize their own financial freedom before their government seizes it from them. So I think that this is an incredibly important moment to show why Bitcoin is needed. It's not every single day that you realize your government could seize your money or that your government might not have your best interest at heart. And so in this moment, it's an important moment to reflect and be like, do I have my Bitcoin stored in self-custody where no one can take it from me? And that's the magic of Bitcoin. Hope you enjoyed. Follow me next week. Cheers. Bye.